I don't care if the earth is flat or if it's spherical. As long as it keep doing what it's doing, I'd be happy. Because you know, when all is said and done, well, let me just put it to you like this, and then I'll continue with this thought. I come from the perspective of science. I look at the principles of science. And the principles of science tells me that the sun, the earth, many of the planets are spherical. They're not flat. Okay? Now, I know people say, well, when you look up at the sun, all you see is a circle. But Sister Chacha, when I look at you, all I see is you. And the thing that's the furthest, because that's two-dimensional. When you look at the sun and you see just that circle, you're looking at a two-dimension. You're looking at something two-dimensional. I'm looking at you two-dimensional right now. You're looking at me two-dimensional. You can't see depth. You can see length and you can see width, but you can't see the back of my head. So because I'm looking up there and I'm saying that the sun is a disk because I only see what's there, two-dimensional, then I would also say that humans are flat. Because the way I'm looking at you is the way I would look at the sun. But now, let me get into the science of it. And by science, I mean knowledge. Okay? And what I normally do is I take a piece of paper. And so we're going to go to basketball on this. And what I do is I tell people, I take a trash can and I put it real close to them. And I say, okay, now I want you to put this in the garbage can. Throw it in the garbage can. And when they throw it, of course, the paper is going to go like this. Now, in science, you have something known as centrifugal force and centripetal force. Centrifugal force is a force that emanates from the core and pushes out. But at the same time that it's pushing out, the dynamics of centrifugal force also pulls in. And it keeps it within its realm. That's what keeps the planets going around the sun. Then you have centripetal force. Centripetal force is a force that comes from the outside and pushes in, but at the same time pulls out. When centrifugal force marries centripetal force, you then have the force that is going to be what makes things spherical. Here is centrifugal force, and here is centripetal force. This force is going like this, pulling in. This is going like this and going out. Okay. Let's take this piece of paper again. Here is centrifugal force pushing out. Here is centripetal force pushing in. By the nature of this force, it creates three dimensions.
Okay, go ahead. You can finish.
And then what I do simply, my sister, is I just tell them, now throw this in the garbage.
Yes.
Because once these two forces act on something that pushes it in, it creates a perfect sphere. And that's what allows the planets to revolve. That's what allows the stars to move. Because if the stars and the planets were flat, they wouldn't be able to travel in space, because being flat, they would be going like this. And what I say to people is bounce a flat basketball. Take all the air out the basketball, make it flat. Now bounce it. It goes against the laws of nature. It's not going to bounce. It's only when you make it spherical that it bounces. Same thing with golf ball. Same thing with baseball. Same thing with tennis ball. That's what makes things move, is the impact that nature has on an object in order to make it spherical or round, but more importantly, three-dimensional. Because people will say, well, when I look up at the sun, that's round. But yeah, but I'm talking about three-dimension. Not two-dimension.
Why you feel like you know, all of a sudden, this thing is happening? And not only, why do you feel like some people may carry that theory or that notion that the Earth is flat or maybe in a dome as opposed to a globe?
Well, I go back to what you said earlier, my sister Chacha. I don't care what it is.
Oh, okay.
If it's flat and it has done what it's done and we're on this planet, I'm with it. If it's round and it does what it does, hexagonal, octagon, I don't care. But what I'm perceiving is that people have taken it to another, because you see, when Cristobal Colon first got on the waters, that's what Europe believed. Europe believed that the earth was flat. And when you get to a certain point on the earth, you'll fall off. But in all the years that I've experienced, I've never heard of a boat falling off the earth. So how could that happen? If the earth is flat and boats have traveled on the water, at what point are they going to fall off the flatness of the earth? And are we saying that just recently with all of the different spaceships that went up, what I'm hearing people say is that that's all fake?
Yeah, that they're not leaving. They hitting the what they call it? I forgot what they call it.
The atmosphere.
No, but not the dome. But what? But it got a name.
It's right there at the edge.
Pack up, help me.
It's right there at the edge of the atmosphere.
The firmament. There you go. They're saying that these things can't reach past the firmament. That's why, and it's actually it gets smacked right back down to earth. There's haven't been a successful launch. How do you feel about that?
The firmament is a biblical term. The firmament in ancient Kush, Kemet, it was called Nut, N-U-T. It was a female energy that separated air from earth and allowed the light and heat energy to come down and create life on earth. It's in the Shabaka Stone. That's the third book that I wrote. Because you see, family, this is the information that we have to get to. Our ancestors knew that the earth was round and three-dimensional. They knew that the sun was three-dimensional. And when you look at certain Meduneta symbols, you'll see that they purposely rounded it off. And they carved it in stone and on leather in ways that you knew they were depicting a round object. That's the evidence that I come with. I come with thousands of years of writings and carvings where our ancestors understood. We also know that they understood that stars were gaseous balls by the way in which they depicted them. Even on King Tut's tomb, we can see this. And I believe that this is, whenever anybody wants to take your attention away from your emancipation and liberation, they'll put a story out there and make you get caught up in it so that you will never really go back to trying to do something with your life.